Welcome back to the Benniebarre Pilates studio. Today we're going to be doing a Pilates mat workout, but first before we get into that, I want to introduce you to the newest mat in my studio. This GXM mat is a really large and heavy-duty exercise mat that's perfect for your home gym or studio. Prior to getting this mat, I just had a large open space in my studio with my beautiful floors, which I love, but I always have to bring mats out when I drag apparatus around or bring them up to the springboard or anytime I'm teaching a class. As you can tell, this mat covers a large space in the studio, protects my floors, and gives me a wide range of area to work on. It is really heavy duty and strong. You can use this rolling large equipment across it or with weights or so many different things. When I say this mat is heavy duty, I mean it. It comes in this big carrying case and it is super heavy and durable. So this is me checking out on my studio. I love that I can just lay directly onto the mat that's permanently on the floor while I'm working on the springboard. Although some things on the springboard, I do like the padded mats for more cushioning. When I place a padded mat on this, it doesn't slide around and it stays in place much more nicely than it would on my actual floor. So it's a win-win. I also love when I do standing exercises at the springboard that I have a cushioned padded mat underneath me to make it more comfortable and more grippy for my feet, and I've got more freedom of motion moving around as I work on the board. I also love this for when I'm working at the bar because I can pull this mat right up to my bar and have that grip of the mat underneath my feet, giving me nice cushion and stability so I'm not sliding around the floor when my feet get sweaty without even wearing bar socks. Probably my favorite thing about having this mat in my Pilates studio is that I can easily move my small apparatus like the spine corrector here or the chair to any place on the mat and be able to use it without it sliding around on the floor. Normally I have to pull out a separate mat and put these small things over top of it so that they don't slip and they stay in place. But as you can see, there's lots of exercises where we work on the spine corrector or the chair where we're partially lying down on the floor. So I need to have some form of mat, and having this large exercise mat means that I have a lot of space to work. And you'll see shortly in this mat class that we get to that I've got more space to roll around and I'm not limited to the width of a yoga mat. But this is a strong tool for whether or not you're moving around heavy pieces of Pilates equipment or placing weights on it. It's a great mat to set up and give yourself a designated workout space. And now, without further ado, let's get into our Pilates mat workout. We'll start out standing and we're going to dive forward, bringing our hands down towards the mat. Now coming down onto the knees, we're going to go into bird dog. So lift opposite leg, opposite arm as we reach across the room, get our body stabilizing and working. Focus on length here rather than height of the limbs. Think about reaching through your toes, your fingertips, and really stabilizing as you shift from side to side. Nice quick pace, asking your core to keep up and engage and work with you. Now let's take those legs through and we're gonna roll back down to a supine position on the spine, lifting the arms up overhead, going into the 100 here, lifting the legs to a 45-degree angle as you lengthen out the arms, and pulse as you inhale for 5 and exhale for 5. If this is too much, because this is a more advanced position to be out 45 degrees with the legs, you can lift the legs straight up so the ankles are on top of the hips, or you can bring the legs to tabletop. Go ahead and bring that down. We're moving next into the roll up, and we're going to take 2 pulses at the top. Inhaling as we prepare, we're going to peel up head, neck, and shoulders, roll through the spine, reach forward towards the feet for 2 pulses, and then lift the body remaining in that C curve and roll back down to the mat the way that you came. Breath is so important here that we are using that exhalation on the work. Exhale as you roll up, pulse, and inhale, and then exhale, roll down through the spine. Inhale as we lengthen and reset. Now stacking up tall, we're taking the arms straight out and going into the spine twist. Bring the feet together, and we're gonna twist for 2 pulses to one side, recenter, and twist to the opposite side. We wanna make sure that your heels and your hips stay in place. If your heels and your feet are sliding past each other, that means that your hips are moving. Keep them down. This is a tight twist through that spine. Arms down and lift them up overhead, taking the feet about hip distance apart. We're going spine stretch forward and then lifting back up. Tuck the chin to the chest, roll down and out, and then stack up tall, one vertebrae on top of each other with the hands reaching out at shoulder level at the top. Tuck and roll down. Try to reach the hands beyond the feet rather than reaching to the feet. Think about stretching in between the feet and reaching beyond. And then stack up through the spine, one vertebrae at a time. Exhale as you reach out. Inhale, stack up tall, align through the spine. Bring those feet together now and lift the right leg as you roll back down onto the back. We're going into single leg circles. We're going to cross that leg over the standing leg, down, around, and up, and continue here in this motion. Stabilize through the hips. We don't want them to shift back and forth. Now go to the outside. We were first inwardly rotating, now we're outwardly rotating, so we're reaching out to the side and full circle all the way around and back up. Now lift the arms up overhead. We're gonna roll up into a single leg teaser, lower down that foot, lift the left, and then we're gonna roll back down, hands to the mat for that single leg circle. Going to the inside now. And then switching direction and coming to the outside. Keep that leg as straight as possible. We want the heel to be in place over top of the hip. If it's not possible for you to keep that straight and you need a bend in the knee, make sure that your knee is pulled forward so that the heel is still over the hip. Single leg teaser up to seated, lower down that left leg and reach the arms to the sky. Now roll down through the spine one vertebrae at a time. Take those arms up to frame the face. And we're moving now back into the roll up and stacking up tall, and then see curving through the spine and rolling down one vertebrae at a time. So rather than just rolling up, taking those pulses, we're gonna roll up, reach forward, and then stack up tall through the spine, and then C curve as we roll back down one vertebrae at a time. So we're taking that spine stretch forward with the roll up. As we roll up, we're gonna reach forward and then add that stacking through the spine one vertebrae at a time. Then as if you've been punched in the stomach, hollow out and roll back down one vertebrae at a time, lengthening those arms up to frame your face. Last time rolling down here. Now we're gonna roll over onto the side. Bring those hands in so the thumbs are underneath the armpits, and we're gonna roll up into swan and then roll down one vertebrae at a time. Now take the left arm and the right leg and we're gonna lengthen them out in front. Lift back up into swan. Same thing on the other side. So similar to bird dog, we're gonna reach and lengthen through opposite arm, opposite leg, reset the hand and leg, lift up into swan, and then roll back down. Lengthen those limbs away, point through the toes, reach through the fingers, lift up through swan, and roll back down. Lengthen out arm and leg, bring it back in. Inhale as you lift up through swan, and exhale as you roll down one vertebrae at a time in this prone position. Reach opposite arm, opposite leg. Inhale, roll up. Exhale, roll down. Lengthen arm and leg. Reset. Inhale, lift up. And exhale, rolling back down. Rolling back over onto the back, we're going into the single leg stretch. Pull those knees in, peel up head, neck, and shoulders, and we're gonna reach one leg away while they tug the opposite knee in towards the chest. Don't let the hips rock from side to side. We're pulling in a straight line, keeping the knee in line with the hip and not reaching out to the outside. Pull, 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 nice steady pace, that quick switch, one leg lengthens. Now hold the right leg here. We're gonna lift the left leg and lower. Lift up and lower. So it's just hovering off the floor. Lift and lower. Lift and lower. Now pull in that left leg, same thing on the right. Lift and lower. Lift and lower. We're holding that neutral spine. We are C-curved, head, neck, and shoulders peeled up. Gaze is looking towards the legs, not at the ceiling as we're doing this, and we are just isolating that one leg. Now reach your limbs out long on your back. We're gonna roll forward to sitting and transitioning into a plank position. We're going into the leg pull down. So we're gonna lift the left leg into the air and tap it back down. Point through that toe. Keep those wrists directly underneath the shoulders. Stay in that nice plank position. And that's lower down, sink down to the floor. And we're gonna press back up and switch to the right leg. So yes, we've got a push up and a full lower down to the floor in between. Lift and lower that leg. Now descend in a nice plank, slowly coming down all the way to the mat, and then lift up through swan as you lengthen the feet behind you. Lower down the chest, tuck the toes, and press up into that plank. We're now switching over to a side plank, lifting the right hand in the air. And we're coming back through plank and coming to the opposite side. Left arm lifts up, side plank. And here comes my dog to visit me. Everyone take a moment to pet a dog, catch your breath, and we'll get right back into it. This is my beagle Ruby, and she is the canine love of my life. She's also a really great example of how life doesn't always go according to plan. And sometimes we have interruptions. And sometimes it's good for us to take little breaks when we need to spend time with the people and pets that we love. Now Ruby's about to sneeze in my face in just a second in this video, and then we will get right back to our workout after being so cutely interrupted. Let's change direction and come to seated. Reach the arms straight out. We're going to go into a spine stretch forward with 2 pulses. Pulse, pulse on that reach, and then stack up tall through the spine. Now reach the arms back, come into a reverse plank, and we're taking the leg pull up. Right leg lifts, left leg lifts. Lower the hips. Reach the arms back out, reset the spine, and stretch forward for 2 pulses. Stack up tall through the spine. Reach those arms back with the fingers facing forward. Reach the right leg and the left leg. Keep those hips high as you lift the legs. Reset, spine stretch forward, 2 pulse. Stack up tall. Arms reach back. Lift the hips. Lift the right leg and lower. Lift the left leg and lower. Hips come down, straight through the spine. Pulse forward, 4, 1, 2. Stack up tall. Reach the arms back. Lift the hips. Make sure that the tops of the feet are reaching towards the ceiling and that they're not rolling out. Keep those feet parallel. Continue on here, flowing those exercises together. Now we're coming down onto the back and moving into the shoulder bridge. Peel the hips up off the mat. We're going to lift the right leg, lengthen straight, lower and lift, lower and lift, lower and lift. Making sure to keep the weight into the shoulder blades and not the head and neck here. Bend the leg and bring back down. Roll down through the spine and lower the hips down to the floor. Now peel back up, lifting the left leg, straightening. We're gonna lower and lift. You can stay pointed through that toe, or you can flex and point as you lift and lower if you like. Bringing that leg down and rolling back down through the spine. Next, we're going to move into shoulder bridge prep. So we'll come into that bridge. We're going to take the right bent leg up, lower, and then left bent leg up. Then roll down through the spine. Again, press that low back into the mat. Peel up 1 vertebrae at a time. Right leg lifts, left leg lifts, and roll back down to the spine. If the full shoulder bridge exercise is too much for you, the shoulder bridge prep is a natural choice here where you can practice stabilizing through the hips while you lift a bent leg and lower back down. Peeling up, again lifting that bent leg and alternating to the other side, and rolling down through the spine. Making sure that we're articulating through the spine here during this exercise. Now, we're just going to roll up through the spine, keep the feet down, and roll back down the way that you came. Peel up one vertebrae at a time, and melt down one vertebrae at a time. This should feel like a massage that requires you to actively engage the abdominals and the glutes. But it's a nice roll through the spine that should be welcome. Lengthen out the arms and legs right here, and just feel that long length through your body. Now lift up into teaser, and then lower everything back down. We're lifting that upper body and the lower body at the same time into that V-shaped teaser, and lowering back down. Peeling up, and we're aiming to have the chest open and the spine long at the top, and the arms are parallel to the legs. Lower everything back down. Exhale as we lift up, inhale at the top for a hold, and exhale as everything lowers back down. If the full teaser is too much, you can go into a single leg teaser variation where only one leg lifts. Just make sure that you alternate from side to side with each lift. Now, rolling over onto the side right here, and we're taking those feet forward towards the corner. We're going to point that top leg as we lift up and flex as we take that leg back down. Point and lift, flex and lower. Keep hips stacked over hip, shoulder stacked over shoulder. Point, reach up, flex, squeeze down. Now we're going to flex as we come up and point as we come down. Flex that heel up, point the toe as you lower down. Feel that transition from those muscles when our feet are in different positions. Flexing up, pointing as you're coming down. Now taking those legs in a straight line, we're going to lift and lower them both at the same time, keeping one leg stacked over top of the other. Now roll over to the other side, take those legs forward on an angle, point the toe as you lift up, and flex as you squeeze down. Keep a nice steady flow of breath here as you're working through the side body, inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. Now flex as you bring up and point as you lower the leg. Think about squeezing those legs back together and staying really balanced through the side body while you work through the legs. Now bringing the legs out in a straight line, zip them together, and we're going to lift up and lower back down. Think about moving those two legs as one solid unit. Now rolling over onto the back, we're going into the double leg stretch. So pull those knees in, curl up head, neck, and shoulders in a ball, reach the arms and legs away, and then snow angel circle the arms back in as you tuck the knees back into body. Here we're going from our most extended place to our most ball-like shape where we are curled in on ourselves and then reaching away. But all the while, we're keeping a neutral spine and we're not getting extra air underneath the back. Now hands behind the head, elbows out wide, we're going into the crisscross. Taking the elbow and reaching beyond that opposite knee while the other leg lengthens out long. Think about keeping those elbows wide and really getting a nice twist through the torso. Don't just think about bringing the elbow to the knee, but think about twisting and reaching beyond the knee. Now lower down the head, neck, and shoulders. We're gonna sit up here and we're going next into a variation of the crab. So we're gonna cross one foot over top of the other. We're gonna lift up, hover on those sits bones and grab a hold of the outside of the feet. And then we roll back, bring over, then we're gonna lift up tall. So grab onto those feet. We're gonna roll like a ball back while we lengthen the legs out, crisscross them, change which leg is over top, come forward, press the hips up as we reach up tall. There is a variation of the crab where you come forward and land on your neck. I like this one because you really press and open through the hips and the hip flexors at the top here, and you can use this for all clients and students. So even if they may have head, neck issues, cervical spine issues, this one's perfectly safe and it's a great way to practice and lengthen out through those legs. Next, we're going into open leg rocker. So we're taking those legs long and opening them up like a V, and we are holding on at the calf or at the ankle or somewhere in between. You may have not perfectly straight legs here, and that's okay. The most important thing in this exercise is the breath pattern. We want to inhale as we C-curve through the spine and roll back to the shoulder blades, and exhale as you come forward. Make sure you're breathing that way. It'll make a huge difference. Inhale back, and then exhale as you come up. We're really going to lift through the chest and straighten the spine. Next, into rolling like a ball, where we hold that ball shape, and we're going to take an extension at the top. So when we come forward, we're going to balance on the sits bones, and we're going to reach the legs out long and the arms out wide. So we're going to balance and work through that core, and then tuck the legs and roll back. Really strong core activation here and a little spinal massage while we're at it. Rocking exercises can be so good for calming down the nervous system and finding balance and core activation. Little stretch forward here. Now turning over onto the stomach, we're moving into the double leg kick, one of our prone exercises. Interlace the fingers at the low back, float the legs, and we're going to peel up head, neck, and shoulders, then lower down as we kick the legs in for 1, 2, 3. Inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, kick 1, 2, 3. Lengthen the legs out, but keep them active and floating off the mat rather than laying down. Pull up the head, neck, and shoulders. Get a huge stretch through that chest as you lengthen out and away and continue kicking in the legs. Release the arms and legs right here, and we're going to bring the hands in, push ourselves up into swan, and go into the swan dive. Exhale as you come forward, inhale as you lift. There are many different variations and preparation for the swan dive. I have a video that can teach the swan dive that's available here on YouTube. It's a great way to activate the entire body. Pressing back into rest pose for a little stretch, and then we're coming back forward. So we're going to push back to rest pose and then come back forward onto the mat. Use your muscles to push your body up and back, and then come forward onto the mat. This can be really dynamic right here to just go from laying in a prone position to pressing back into a rest pose or child's pose. Make sure that your knees are in a comfortable position. You can have them a good distance apart, whatever feels good for you when you press back into that rest pose. Strong exhale as you push up and back with your body. Now rolling up tall in that kneeling position. Give yourself just a moment, and then we're going to transition into Pilates push-ups. So we're going to tuck the toes in and go ahead and come to standing, straightening the legs, giving a nice little stretch for just a moment, and then we're going to walk out 1, 2, 3, 4, push up. And then we're gonna curl in like we're doing the roll up and walk our hands back in up to our feet. Now bend down through the knees right here, and then push the legs back straight and walk back out into that push-up position. Push up. Little C-curve curl through the spine rather than hiking the hips, and walk back in. Then bring the hands a little forward, bend the knees down to the mat, push them back up straight, and stretch. So rather than go into that full Pilates push-up where we roll up to a standing position, right here we're going to give ourselves an opportunity to bring the knees down to the mat and then actively stretch through the legs. One of the most challenging things for people about the Pilates push-up is having the flexibility to lengthen through the legs and bring the hands all the way down to the ground and up to the toes, and to be able to stabilize and walk back and forth. So we're just going to bend down through those knees and then push the legs up straight. Okay, coming to a kneeling position here, we're going to tuck the toes and float the knees up, and then slowly lower back down to the mat. So we're really activating the core right here in this quadricep position, floating up and then slowly lowering back down. Make sure that you're not lifting up and then plopping back down. We want to float up with control, activating, and then control as we bring it back down, getting deep into those core muscles as we lift and lower back down. We also want to make sure that the hands are directly underneath the shoulders and not out too far in front of us, so we have a nice stable support in this position. Good. Go ahead and reach back into a rest pose here. Next, we're going to transition into a mermaid side bend combo. So coming into a Z sit, we're going to reach over deeply into that mermaid, then lift up into a side plank, go into that side bend, lower the hip, lift up, and then come back down and reposition the feet to go into mermaid, reach over and stretch, then lift up into that side plank, go immediately into the side bend, dip the hips down, lift up, lower down, and come into mermaid. Make sure as you're coming into that side bend that when you're in that side plank position, the top foot is coming to the front. In some yoga poses and areas where you might side plank, you might stack the feet, but in Pilates, when we do exercises like the side bend and the twist, that top leg comes in front to stabilize us for the movement that we need to do. Let's come over to the other side. Z sit, come into the mermaid, then reach the legs out, come into side plank, side bend, lower the hips, lift up tall, and then bring everything back down into that Z sit and fold over into the mermaid. Feel free to take this at your own pace to make sure that you're stable, that you're stacked over top of the wrist, that you feel comfortable with that movement, and not that you're rushing through and not getting into good positioning. Rotating around here onto the back, we're going to get into the abdominals a little bit, so go ahead and roll down through the spine. We're going to take the hands underneath the head, elbows wide, float the legs up into tabletop, and from here we're going to come into a chest lift with the legs in tabletop. Exhale as you peel up head, neck, and shoulders, gaze coming to the knees, and inhale as you lower back down. Make sure that you're nice and stable through your pelvis. If you find that stability to be challenging and difficult, place your feet down on the ground. Now, we're going to go into a single leg stretch while we crunch up. One leg reaches away and then we come back down. Again, if reaching a leg away leads you to feel unstable or like you're shifting through your hips or pelvis, then keep them where they are. Little rest right here. Lengthen the arms out. And now we're going to peel up head, neck, and shoulders while we reach both legs away. On the apparatus, this is the 100 prep. We're usually, say, on the reformer, we'd be pulling the straps while we peel up head, neck, and shoulders and lengthening the feet away. We can also do this exercise on the mat, and it's a great way to engage everything. Make sure to take a strong exhalation as you peel up and inhale as you lower everything back down. Bringing the hands down towards the mat, lengthen the feet away towards 45 degrees, and we're going to go into the roll over. So, pointing through the toes, we're going to roll over with the legs zipped, separate the feet about hip width apart, tap the toes down to the mat if that's possible, and flex on the way down. When we roll over, the toes are pointed. When we roll down, the heels are flexed. And we're going over with the legs zipped together, and then separating, bringing them down towards the mat, and rolling over. This exercise may not be appropriate for everyone. We want to be able to articulate and peel up here rather than thrust the hips, and make sure that you keep the weight in the shoulder blades rather than the head. Go ahead and lift up tall to seated right here. And we're going to press back into a rest pose here. Really lengthen and stretch for a moment. It demands a lot abdominally and through the spine to do the rollover. Now let's take those knees nice and wide and press back into that rest pose position. Really reach the fingers out long, take the forehead down to the mat, and let yourself release and relax as you breathe deeply here. Today's mat work has definitely been fast-paced and challenging. Let me know if you have any questions about any of these exercises. This has been my first time while recording this on the mat of using this large exercise mat, and I've loved it. Thanks for letting me tell you all about this exercise mat at the beginning of class. And if you are in the market for a large exercise mat, or you just realized that you need this for your own Pilates studio space or exercise area, then I will be placing the link for this mat in my write-up below. When you use that link, it'll automatically apply an exclusive coupon of 5% off for you when checking out. Let me know in the comments if you've tried and gotten this GXM mat and you love it as well. I'm going to give you a little tip. When I first unrolled it, it felt a little bit slippery. This is what you do. You just wipe it down with a little bit of water on a cloth, and that's the easiest way for you to clean it as well. But every time you wipe it like that, you get a nice firm grip and it's not slippery anymore. If the fast pace of this class was a little bit too much for you and you're like, Mare, I have so many questions about Pilates, you can actually join me on Patreon, where if you join my Mat Pilates tier, which is so inexpensive, there are classes there where I slow things down and lead you at regular pace along with me while I'm talking you through it. I also have how-to videos for all the classical exercises, so you can learn each exercise one at a time and then be able to fully understand when applying it into a class setting. You can also join me on Patreon for Springboard Pilates, Reformer Pilates, Barre, and more. And you can join me here on my YouTube channel anytime for any of those things. Let me know if you have any requests for what you want to see next on my channel, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single video.